Let me tell you something that happened to me 3 years ago.
Oh, when Jake starts like that, you know something good is coming.
I was sitting at a dinner table, 8 people, all native English speakers, confident, laughing, telling stories, finishing each other's sentences. And someone turned to me and said, "Jake, what about you? Tell us something interesting about yourself."
And what happened?
I froze completely. Not because I had nothing to say. I had so much to say. I had lived in 3 countries. I had interesting experiences. I had real stories. But in that moment, under those eyes, in that language, I could not find the beginning. I did not know how to start. And so I said, "Oh, nothing interesting really." And I looked down at my plate.
And the conversation moved on without you.
The conversation moved on without me, and I sat there for the rest of that evening feeling invisible. Not because my English was bad, but because I did not know how to tell a story in English. And that night, I made myself a promise. I was going to learn exactly how to do it. And today, we are teaching you everything I learned.
Welcome to English Boost Zone. This is your weekly English listening and learning practice for B2 and C1 level learners. I am Maya.
And I am Jake. And today, we are covering one of the most powerful and most personal skills in the entire English language: how to tell a story.
Here is what you are going to learn today. In Section 1, you are going to learn the structure of a great story in English, the framework that every confident English storyteller uses, often without even realizing it. In Section 2, you are going to learn the specific language, the phrases, the transitions, the vocabulary that make a story come alive in English. And in Section 3, you are going to hear a complete mini story told using everything we teach. And then you are going to tell your own.
3 sections, real examples, 1 complete demonstration. And by the end of this episode, you will never sit silently at a dinner table again.
Let us begin.
Section 1, structure. And I want to start here because this is the thing nobody tells learners about storytelling. Most people think that telling a good story is about having an interesting experience, but that is not true. Some of the most boring stories come from the most extraordinary experiences, and some of the most compelling stories come from the most ordinary ones.
The difference is never what happened. The difference is always how you tell it.
And how you tell it comes down to structure. Every great story in English, whether it is 2 minutes or 2 hours, follows the same basic architecture. And once you know this architecture, you can tell any story about anything that has ever happened to you in a way that keeps people listening.
The structure has 5 parts, and we are going to go through each one clearly. Part 1, the hook. This is the opening line, the sentence that makes someone stop whatever they are doing and listen. A great hook does one of 3 things. It creates curiosity, it creates surprise, or it creates an emotional connection.
Here are 3 example hooks. You can use each of these as templates for your own stories. First, "You will not believe what happened to me last Tuesday." Second, "I made the worst decision of my life completely by accident." Third, "There was a moment last year when I genuinely thought everything was about to fall apart."
You will not believe the worst decision of my life. I genuinely thought everything was about to fall apart. Every one of those hooks creates an immediate question in the listener's mind. What happened? What was the decision? What fell apart? And that question is the thread that pulls them forward through your entire story.
Part 2, the setting. After your hook, you set the scene. You give the listener just enough context to place themselves inside the story. Where were you? When was it? What were the circumstances? Keep it brief, 2 or 3 sentences maximum. You are painting a quick picture, not writing a novel.
Like this. It was a Monday morning in November. I was running late for the most important meeting of my career, and my phone had just died.
Instantly, you are somewhere. Instantly, you feel the pressure. That is good setting. Quick, specific, and immediately atmospheric.
Part 3. The build. This is the main body of your story. Something happened, or a series of things happened, that created tension, conflict, surprise, or emotion. The build is where learners spend too little time. They rush to the ending. But the build is where the listener gets invested. It's where they start to care.
Use phrases like these to build your story naturally. And then what happened was, just when I thought, the moment I arrived, before I could even, that's when things got interesting.
That's when things got interesting. That phrase alone can transform the pacing of any story. It signals to the listener that something is about to shift, and that anticipation keeps them leaning in.
Part 4. The turning point. Every great story has a moment when something changes, a decision is made, a realization hits, something unexpected happens. This is the heart of your story. This is the moment that everything else was building toward.
And in English, you signal the turning point with phrases like these. And that was when I realized. Everything changed the moment. I'll never forget what happened next. Suddenly, it became clear. And then it hit me.
And then it hit me. 4 words that signal a turning point so effectively that the listener physically leans forward. Use them. Use them often.
Part 5. The resolution and reflection. How did it end, and what did it mean? Great storytellers do not just describe what happened, they share what they took from it. The lesson, the feeling, the shift in perspective. This is what makes a story memorable, rather than just interesting.
Phrases for resolution and reflection. And the thing I took from that experience was, looking back now, I realize it wasn't what I expected, but it changed the way I walked away from that moment knowing that experience taught me something I still carry with me.
That experience taught me something I still carry with me. That sentence tells the listener that your story mattered, that it was worth their time. And that's the feeling you want every listener to leave with.
Section 2. The language. Because structure gives you the skeleton of a story, but language gives it a heartbeat. And there are specific words, phrases, and techniques that the best English storytellers use constantly, that most intermediate and even advanced learners never learn because nobody teaches them directly.
We are teaching them directly right now. Starting with time and sequence phrases. These are the words that move your story forward in time and keep the listener oriented. Without them, a story feels jumpy and hard to follow. With them, it flows.
The most natural time and sequence phrases for storytelling. So this was about 3 years ago now. It all started when, the next thing I knew, meanwhile, before I even had time to think, a few minutes later, by the time I realized, at that point, and then suddenly.
And then suddenly. Those 3 words accelerate a story instantly. They signal that something unexpected is about to happen, and unexpected things are what stories are made of.
Second group, descriptive intensifiers. These are the small words that add color and energy to your storytelling. Native English speakers use them constantly, and they are one of the clearest markers of natural, fluent storytelling.
Completely, absolutely, genuinely, utterly, incredibly, slightly, surprisingly, honestly, out of nowhere, of all places, of all people.
Of all people. That phrase, if you are telling a story and you want to add a layer of irony, surprise, or dark humor, of all people is the phrase. My old English teacher called me, of all people, the one person I was trying to avoid, of all people.
It works every single time. Third group, phrases that bring the listener inside the moment. One of the techniques that separates a good storyteller from a great one is the ability to make the listener feel present in the story, to make them feel like they are there. And you do this with specific phrases.
You know that feeling when? Imagine this. Picture this scene. I remember thinking to myself, and all I could think was, at that exact moment. You have to understand, at this point, the thing you need to know about this situation is,
You have to understand at this point. That phrase creates intimacy. It signals to the listener that you are about to share something important, something that will help them fully understand what you felt. And that sense of being trusted with important information keeps people completely engaged.
Fourth group, phrases for reaction and emotion. Because every story has an emotional dimension, and naming the emotion rather than just describing the event is what makes a story resonate long after it is finished.
I could not believe it. I was absolutely speechless. I remember this wave of relief washing over me. I felt this strange mixture of terror and excitement. My heart was genuinely racing. I did not know whether to laugh or cry. And in that moment, everything just felt very still.
Everything just felt very still. That phrase, it describes a moment of shock or profound realization so perfectly. Not loud, not dramatic, just still. And the listener feels it immediately.
And that is the real power of storytelling in English. It's not about impressing people with your vocabulary. It's not about speaking quickly or using complicated grammar. It's about making someone feel something. And the phrases we just gave you, used honestly and at the right moment, will do exactly that every single time.
Section 3, Practice and Motivation. And we are starting this section with something we promised at the beginning, a complete mini story told using everything we have taught today. Listen carefully. Notice the hook. Notice the setting. Notice the build, the turning point, and the reflection. And then we are going to ask you to do something.
Here is the story.
So this happened about 2 years ago now, and honestly, I still think about it sometimes. I was traveling alone for the first time. New city, nobody I knew, and I had completely run out of data on my phone with no idea how to get back to my accommodation. I wandered around for about 40 minutes, feeling increasingly anxious. And then, out of nowhere, this elderly man noticed me standing on a corner looking lost. Of all the people on that busy street, he walked over and, in very broken English, mixed with gestures and a hand-drawn map on a piece of torn paper, he guided me all the way back to my street. The thing you need to know about this moment is that he did not speak English, and I did not speak his language. But somehow, between the two of us, we communicated everything that needed to be said. And then it hit me. Language is not the only bridge between people. Kindness is. And I walked away from that experience, knowing that connection does not require perfect words. It requires presence, patience, and the willingness to try.
That is storytelling.
Did you feel it? Did you notice the hook? So this happened about 2 years ago now, and honestly, I still think about it sometimes. Did you notice the setting? New city, nobody I knew, run out of data. Did you feel the build? 40 minutes, increasing anxiety, out of nowhere? Did you catch the turning point? And then it hit me. And the reflection. Connection does not require perfect words. It requires presence, patience, and the willingness to try.
Every single technique, every single phrase group, all working together in under 2 minutes of natural English storytelling. And you understood every word of it because the language was not complicated. The structure was. And structure is learnable. Structure is teachable. And structure is now yours.
I want to say something to every B2 and C1 learner who is listening to this right now. You have experiences that are worth sharing. You have moments that changed you. You have stories that would make people lean forward, laugh out loud, sit quietly, or feel less alone.
And the only thing standing between those stories and a room full of people who want to hear them is the language to tell them, the framework to structure them, the confidence to begin with the words, "Let me tell you something that happened to me."
Those 8 words, "Let me tell you something that happened to me," that is all it takes to open a story. 8 words, and everything we taught you today is what comes after.
And here is what I want you to hold on to when this episode ends. Every great English storyteller you have ever admired, every native speaker who seemed to just naturally captivate a room, every person who told a story that you never forgot, they were not born knowing how to do that. They learned, they practiced, they told their stories badly a few times first, and then they told them better, and then they told them beautifully.
And you are going to do exactly the same thing, starting today. Not when your English is better, not when you feel more confident. Today, with the structure you just learned, with the phrases you now have, with the story that already exists somewhere inside your experience, waiting to be told.
Tell it, even imperfectly, especially imperfectly, because an imperfect story told with genuine feeling will always move people more than a perfect sentence said with none.
Here is your challenge for this week. Think of one real thing that happens to you. It doesn't have to be dramatic, it doesn't have to be extraordinary, it just has to be true. And using the 5-part structure we taught you today, write it out or say it out loud. Hook, setting, build, turning point, reflection.
And then drop it in the comments below. Your story in English right here. We read every single one, and we want to hear yours because your story matters, and so does your English.
If today helped you, please subscribe to English Boost Zone. Like this episode and share it with one person who is learning English. One share from you reaches one more person who needed to hear exactly this today.
And next week, we're covering how to give your opinion confidently in presentations and group discussions. Because once you can tell a story and express a view, there's almost nothing you cannot communicate in English.
Until then, find your story, tell it, and remember that the most powerful thing you can say in any language is something true. I'm Jake.
I'm Maya.
And this is English Boost Sound. See you next time.